John.
Here's Aloisi for a place in the World Cup.
For us.
He scored! Australia have done it!
Come on!
John!
For Shane Warne. He's done it.
We would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the lands on which we meet today and pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. We extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people listening in today.
Rightio, 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Aussies Abroad on the B Sample Sports Network. This is a new show we're hosting, guys, where we're going to touch base on the best Aussies kicking ass on the world stage. Guys, I've been around before. I've done this a few times, but let me introduce you to my co-host. We have Ness up here. Ness, say hi. And we got Beau down here. Beau, say hi.
Hey, guys, how are we?
I believe, Beau, that you had a birthday on the weekend, mate. How was that?
Good. Probably not a good one to start about on the podcast. Best to leave some of the activities that happened, leave them behind.
Very nice, very nice. And Ness, how was your hens night? Which wasn't actually your hens night.
Good clarification. Probably similar to Beau. We probably shouldn't discuss all of the things that went on, but let's just say 16 hours with a group of girls is a long time.
That is a very long time. Yes, that is a long time. I saw some of the videos, folks, and that's maybe something we can talk about after the show. So, right, guys, the way the show is going to work is we're going to touch on the news of the week every week, and then we're going to sort of discuss those news topics. We're going to focus on the good things or the bad things that we saw, and then we're going to talk about the things coming up that week. So, obviously, with the Olympics starting this week, there's a lot of Aussies in the limelight at the moment, and hopefully we're going to have a para-Olympian on the show next week. We've got him lined up to interview on Sunday night. So look, guys, without further ado, let's get started with the news. Now, if Josh was here, he'd be adding a little news segment in here. So Josh, if you could just cut that out, that'd be sweet. So this week in the news, guys, Wallaby Marika Korobidi has been cleared by the match review panel after he hit a French rugby player on the weekend. Korobidi is now free to face the All Blacks on August the 7th, which is going to be an absolute whitewash for the Aussies. Former Socceroos head coach Ange Postecoglou, who is now in charge of Celtic, entered the Champions League this morning when they drew 1-1 with a Dutch side. Not a great start for Ange. One of the other Aussies, Tommy Rogic, was on the sideline for a long time of that game. Ange is going to suffer over there a lot if he doesn't sort of get his act together soon. Aussie Formula One driver Daniel Ricciardo finished 5th. Daniel Ricciardo has struggled a lot this year. Hometown hero, the Lewis Hamilton won the race. There was a big smash in that race between Hamilton and Verstappen. Ricciardo's not doing too well, so hopefully with a few more races left this year, he can focus a lot more on himself and trying to be better for next year. As we touched on earlier, guys, the Olympics has kicks off on Tokyo on Friday night. The Aussies have sent their biggest troop over there with 427 athletes, the second most we've sent, but the most girls that have gone over and the most Indigenous athletes, which is really nice to see. Now, for those of you who haven't heard yet, breaking news on the show, Brisbane is now the host city of the 2032 Olympic Games. Now, that's about it for news, guys, but I'd like to bring in Ness at the moment, whose job it actually is to organise events here in the ACTT. Ness, how do you feel about Brisbane hosting the 2032 Games?
Oh, look, as an event manager, I want to see events happen all the time. I guess COVID's put a real dampener on things and the industry's really suffered at the moment. I think the Olympic movement probably has lost some momentum, and I know you've got some views on this, Binksy, so I'm keen to hear your thoughts in a second. Look, for me, any event is a good event, and any sport event equally is a great thing. So I'll probably try and get a job there. Who knows? 2032, if I'm still crazy enough to be in this industry. See how we go.
If you still go, look, Beau, how do you feel, mate? Would you be happy to go watch events? Like all of us were here when Sydney hosted in 2000. It's been 21 years now. It'll be a long time between drinks. Is Brisbane something that we should be spending money on?
For me, without taking politics in, for sure. I was when Olympics come in 2000. I was in primary school then and missed out. I didn't get to go. So that is kind of showing my age at this stage, I suppose. But I'm stoked. I'm stoked just to have any sport. I think it's good for the country. So I'll be doing in one of my chats here, we're talking about possibilities of being able to get up and watch a few things. So I'm stoked for it. I think it's great.
Yeah, I think the idea is good. Like I remember the Olympic torch relay came through our hometown in 2000 or 99 or whatever that was, and it was good to see. Everyone got up for it and we loved it. But I think if Brisbane hosts this, it's going to be about them and them only. When Sydney hosted, we'll talk about the Barrier Reef and Uluru and this and that and everything else that makes Australia awesome. Whereas Brisbane is going to be all about them and nothing else. They'll show the Barrier Reef, how awesome they are, and they won't mention any other state at all. And that's just me.
An assumption?
That's true because they're up themselves.
Dirty Queensland.
Said like someone that's born in New South Wales. Yeah.
I just
it's not one-eyed, this podcast at all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Straight down the line. I find it, I don't know, I just think maybe they're spending money. Maybe the reason the Olympics have come around twice to us in 30-odd years is because no one else wants it? Or is that just me? Is it becoming more of a burden to host it than it is to go to it? I think a lot of countries are starting to lose money hosting it. Are we just another one of those countries that's going to lose more money to show off how awesome that we are?
I'll chime in first if I can, which is way out of my knowledge base. But I thought it was something that created revenue. Or then there's upgrades to stadiums. There's all sorts of things which then longer benefits the town or city, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yes, so I think when Gold Coast hosted the Commonwealth Games, they spent a hell of a lot of money last 5 years ago, was it? And that was awesome. But I think there was a lot of Brisbane's got a lot of already established stadiums, so I think that helps them too. But Ness, the expert, yeah.
But then the NRL's trying to bring in new rugby league teams too, right? So one or two more new teams in. So by then, you would hope there might be a new NRL team based in Brisbane. And maybe that's going to help to them too. Yeah, new stadium, create a bit more buzz there for up there.
So, Ness, I work with this all the time. Is it worth hosting the Olympics?
Yeah, look, I think what you said is exactly right. There's a huge expense in hosting an Olympics or a significant tournament or event like that. But it absolutely does generate revenue as well. And it certainly creates opportunities and jobs for a lot of people, from, cleaners and, catering and security, right through to event professionals. So I think there's a good flow-on effect, but there's I think the expectations and what you need to do to host an Olympics is getting more difficult, and we probably are in the category, that other countries are falling off, their economies are not strong, and ours is doing okay despite some of the challenges. So, yeah, look, I think it's swings and roundabouts, isn't it? You have to spend money to make money, and I think it's probably our time. It will be a long time since Sydney. We can't forget that our ability to host major events is pretty good. There are a lot of countries that don't do it well, and I think Tokyo is going to do an exceptional job of the Olympics there. The Japanese are on point with everything precision-wise, so I think that will be great. And, we hosted arguably the best games in 2000, so I don't think 2032 will be any different. But I take your point that Queenslanders are a bit special. So
they're very special. Look, this is not the first time we won't agree on something. It won't be the last. But I want to touch on Liz Cambridge. They didn't actually mention it in the news, but she's been sort of thrown out of Tokyo. She is probably the best player the Opals have at the moment. She had a bit of an altercation in Vegas with one of the Nigerians. Not exactly sure what has gone on here. Ness, have you got any sort of insight into why she's no longer with the team?
No, it seems that from what I've read, and the Andrew Bogut's of the world have come out with being pretty vocal around about Liz. But look, all we sort of know is that there was an altercation. It seems like there's some deeper issues at Basketball Australia and within the Opals camp. Discussions that maybe there were problems leading into the games and over the past few tournaments. So, I mean, I think the jury's out, isn't it? She's being investigated at the moment. I don't know any more about that, but there's some real issues there, I think, to be uncovered. I think the thing is that she's left them high and dry at the very 11th hour, and for me, that's a real sticking point. As a someone who plays team sport, that one really hurts.
Yeah, that's going to be hard to sort of to replace her. I can't see that's working in our favour. But look, we're still a good.
Is there?
Go.
Is there coming back for her, do you think, or what's that mean for her moving forward?
Because I think she's fairly old, isn't she? She'd be 32, 33. So I think
she's only 29.
She's been around.
I think she's
for a long time.
Yeah.
I don't know. From what I could gather, she was hard to deal with with her time over in the US. The team she was with, I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but I think they were having issues with her anyway originally. So I don't think it's just a one-off thing. I think she might be a bit of a pain in the ass. So,
is this the end of her career then? Is she still going to just carry on and be who she is? What do you reckon?
I reckon with us, definitely. With the Opals, definitely. But there's always going to be those teams in the US that are going to take you because they don't care if you have a big personality as long as you're talented. So,
yeah.
I mean, that said, she's citing mental health issues, and if that's the case, then that's not something we should take lightly, and hopefully she's getting the support and the care that she needs. But I think there are some other issues, that aside, and I do agree with Andrew Bogut's comments this week about just because you have a mental health problem doesn't excuse, somewhat crappy behaviour, and she certainly she's not acted great, and we look up to these people as role models. And, I can't imagine any young basketballer is looking up to Liz at the moment with any kind of sense of her being a role model or someone influential in a positive way. So sad news for the Opals, I think.
It's a shame. Look, guys,
sad news for her too.
There's a new segment I wanted to bring in called The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. They're going to take one thing each week that we loved or we hated or we wanted to share with the world. So, Beau, I'm going to let you lead off first, mate. You can have the honours here. What's something that you saw this week that really stood out?
Yeah, I'm going to take stage, and I've just changed my vote on this one. Did anyone see what Mitch Marsh did in the cricket?
This morning or yesterday?
Yeah, this morning.
No.
Was it this morning?
This morning was washed out, wasn't it?
Yeah, this morning was.
Yesterday.
This morning there was an ODI this morning.
Yeah.
Yes. So his at the crease and just has been a ball goes down leg side, clips his glove, and umpires called not out. They've reviewed it, so he's waited for them to review it, and then he's decided to walk before they get a decision. So it's kind of good, bad, and ugly because it's good sportsmanship if you're just going to walk. It's kind of ugly if you're going to wait for the other team to challenge to go upstairs and have a look and then be like, okay, you've used your challenge, I'm out of here now. Which is just interesting. It is walking in cricket is already, I don't think anyone agrees on whether it's the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do. It's always going to be you think one way or the other, but to wait for them to go upstairs and then decide. I'm not sure if it's a good look, but at the same time, you are showing a bit of honesty there and you're just getting out of the crease. So I don't know if kudos to Mitch Marsh or if he's done the right or the wrong thing, but it's interesting.
So was he actually out?
He was out. Yeah, it's
He's
taken
out,
a pretty
yeah.
thick deflection off his glove and gone down leg side, caught by the keeper.
That's the thing. See, like sometimes you've hit it.
You
You've
know,
done this
yeah,
1,000
come
times.
off.
And you're like, nah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna stand here and stay
Yeah.
laughing. I'm like, that's a dog act. Like,
Which I don't
you
mind. I mean,
talk,
if you're
man.
given you give a nod out, you're given nod out. But
True, yeah,
to stand on your crease and then be like, okay, now I'm gone anyway. I'll get out of it. Yeah, don't know. But I don't know if it's a good look or not.
yeah. It's hard to say because if you're in the park with your friends, I'm standing there all day. I'm like, no, I'm standing
All
here
day.
all day. There's
If
no
I'm
way
like
I'm
them-
going there. There's no way. I'm not leaving.
I've actually never been.
I care too much about myself. I got too much of a big head. I'm not out. No way.
I've never been out in a game of cricket. Can I just say?
No.
So, yeah.
Never.
Yeah, nor have I. Not fairly, anyway.
No, actually though.
That's good. Very
I've
nice.
had my middle stump taken out.
One from one.
No.
All right, very nice. All right, Ness, you're up. What did you see this week that you loved or you hated?
Look, it's probably for most of the country, they don't really care, but I think we should take some little positive before we get whitewashed by the All Blacks that the Wallabies actually had a win over France. And you can say what you like about, the French being the B or the C or the D team, but Wallabies have long been under, some pressure and pretty big scrutiny to perform. We saw a pretty young Wallabies team really, and they played 75 minutes with 14 on the park, and pretty controversial decision. I think let's take the win while we've got it. Hopefully that's bigger and better things for the men in gold.
Yeah, it was a huge win, a huge result. We won the first test, I think, and lost the second, and then won the third on Wednesday night. They've got, I think, 2-week gap until they play the All Blacks, I think, in Auckland, which is going to be very hard. I think we've won in Auckland twice in like 150 years. So it's going to be a lot of fun. At least we'll have a stronger team with Korobidi there. So hopefully they're looking up and in the right direction. So we'll see.
And some great prospects, some young Wallabies, some young Brumbies in the Wallabies team too. So locally, that's a good news story as well. Hopefully that continues.
It is, yeah. For those who don't know, local rugby is terrible. So hopefully we get better soon. Right, I will end off with it's been a good week or a good month actually to be Aboriginal. Ash Barty won the Wimbledon Open, first Aussie to win since Yvonne Goolagong. I actually drove through Yvonne's hometown this afternoon on the way back from my trip, and there's a big tennis racket there too, which is very nice to see. So Ash Barty won Wimbledon, tied Tuivasa, knocked out Hardy in the UFC last weekend, UFC 264, and he's Aboriginal too. And Paddy Mills gets to hoist up the flag for the opening ceremony with the Aussies in Tokyo in 2 days' time. So 3 Aboriginals kicking ass on the world stage. So that's a very good thing to see. So very nice of the Aussies to sort of be doing the wonders. So it's very good to see. Yes. So, right, guys, the final segment we have at the moment is usually we'd have a special guest on. Next week, I've got a special guest. The week after, I've got one lined up. But I wanted us to talk about why we love sport. So, why we're here. How come that we're on this show? Why we love sport. I've got a few of them, but I'll start off with one first, and then I'll let you guys sort of have your say. I was at the game in Sydney in November of 2005 when Australia beat Uruguay to qualify for the World Cup. I was 21, 22, something like that. And that wasn't my first love, but it was the first time I really felt part of a group and a community and a country, and the love that 85,000 people shared that night when we all screamed when Aloisi scored that goal. And that goal was actually part of the intro in the show. I watched the highlights a couple of weeks back and I was getting all tingly. And that was like 20 years ago. So those moments that we share in sport, we get to share together. And the crowd was 84,000 that night, and I've met 175,000 people that were there. They all tell me, everyone I know says I was there, and I'm like, no, you weren't. 'Cause I was there. You all got me there because I was there. Everyone, like, oh yeah, I was there. I'm like, that's fine. Everyone thinks they were there, and that's fine. I'm happy to share that. Ness, what story have you got that made you just love sport, love the game?
Yeah, look, I think sport's just been part of life since I was little, and probably like the two of you and most of us, it's just what you do when, particularly, Spinksy and I grew up in a small country town, and I guess it's just how you start life. And for me, it was all about family. Dad started a sport club. He started a soccer club back home, and so sport was just automatically a connection to family and to friends, and that connection wasn't just about soccer. It was about, bringing people together and bringing that community together. And everyone shared that common passion and did things to sort of get to know people. And those people have become part of the extended family. So I guess that's just where it started. And then watching sport with family just became a thing to do. We'd have rivalries around State of Origin nights or, World Cups. And I think seeing my dad, who's a proud Italian, the famous dive in the World Cup. I think he actually cried because the Aussies didn't make it. They're just moments that you'll just never forget. But, I think that and, the other moment that really sticks in my mind is, being a young and budding, hopeful netballer that it never quite eventuated. But Sherelle McMahon taught me how to shoot on a camp in Melbourne when I was, 12 or 13. And she didn't do a great job. I didn't really get anywhere in netball, but
I'm still a bad job.
Still trying. But, I just fell in love with her, and I fell in love with her attitude and just the values that she taught me. And it was so much more about the game. And it was about, she talked about, she was 21, 22 at the time, but giving back. And I coach now, and I think for me, just that evolution through sport, coaching and giving back and watching little kids, that listen to you to start with, but then do things that you're teaching them, and they get excited and they give you that look on the sideline when they've nailed a shot or they've done something great, and it's that little buzz that you don't get even from playing. So I think sport just connects so many things and connects so many people, and there's just so many great memories that you can get out of sport. It's now my job, so I think obviously love it. But and I think that's the other thing is you look at sport, and I organise sport for a living, and you get those moments where you go, what on earth am I doing? You work weekends, public holidays, there's sacrifices that you make as a sports administrator where you're not with family and friends, and miss some special moments. But when that first ball is delivered at a cricket match, or the first bounce in an AFL game, or there's a kickoff at the footy, and you look around the crowd and everyone's smiling and waving flags and doing Viking claps or whatever crazy things that they do, it's just really great to watch people's reaction and that happiness and joy that sport brings. And I think if you look around and you get that, you realize why you're doing it. And yeah, I think there's just an enormous amount of passion that comes from any facet of sport, whether that's playing or officiating or just watching, like the three of us do pretty well, just couch potatoes watching the sport.
Yeah, it's good. What about you, though? How do you love sport, and why are we here?
Yes, I guess mine comes kind of, we all come from the same sort of thing where my love for sport was just at the started just in primary school. So that was the start where just before school, lunchtime, recess, after school, you'd just be kicking the soccer ball around. And that was all through primary school. And then it would turn into, you'd be playing on the weekends. And then the older you got, the more I would just try more sports, and just the highs and the lows of sport in general. Whether you're doing it just socially or you're playing somewhat competitively. And then so the competition side, when it is always, I think everyone loves the competition side, but then on the social side, whether you're winning, losing, you're playing with your mates and you see some of them fuck up sort of thing. And then that's a running joke for a little bit. It's just, you can't get that from many other things, I don't think, for sure. And then it's just everything. It's after work, it's before work. These days you've got your fantasy football, you've got Supercoach. There's just so many ways that sport can play a role, whether it's if you are physically able, not physically, you just used to love it, you used to play it, or just playing computer games, a sport or something like that. That's, for me personally, it's just the more sport I can get around, the better it is. So I've dipped my toes in probably too many sports. If I had my time again, I probably would rewind and try and focus on only a few of them. But for me, that's just all I've known. That's from a child, was just kicking a ball around, hitting a ball around, and just the camaraderie you have with your friends or colleagues, kids at school. You can always, if you go down to the local basketball court or something, you can just be there practicing, shooting up some shots, and there'll be someone that will want to join them. And it can just it can really bring people together for unfortunately the lows, but most of the time the highs.
The highs, yeah. Very nice. Look, I spent 2.5 years over in the UK, and I was a football tragic when I was over there, and we could probably do a whole show on the things I've seen over there, and some things I can't talk about on this show or ever again. But there was a thing.
That's the cool thing, though, right?
So good, man.
The bad side of it is also still somehow a little bit of a good side.
And I will, right? I will. So, I was in Fulham, living in Fulham, and they were a Premier League team at the time. This is about 06, 07. And we're playing in the FA Cup, and we went to Kettering Town, and Kettering Town are about a fifth tier team, and it's like going to watch a game of soccer here with your mates. There's no stand, there was nothing, right? And they had 3,000 people there, and there was 500 of us, and these guys are chanting things I can't say on this show, screaming at us as if, like, we won 5-1. I think we were up 4-0 at halftime, and these guys did not shut up for an hour and a half, screaming, singing, individually abusing guy. You in the black shirt, I'm going to kill you. And I'm like, what did I do? What did I do? It's not my fault. We'll meet you in the car park. And I'm like, oh my God.
Help me.
The best. I love this. It was good, and that was every weekend for like 2 years, and that was great. And I was only young then too, but that was some crazy times.
How'd you make it out alive?
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah, there was one. Actually, the reason I sort of love sport originally, as you were saying, we grew up in a small town, but I was taken to the Anzac Day AFL game when I was about 11 or 12. I think it was the first or second time they had it. And growing up in a town of about 20,000, going to the MCG with about 85,000 there, I was amazed that you could fit my whole town in this stadium 4 times over. This is just ridiculous. And the way they all cheered, everyone's watching the same thing. Like, it's not like if you're at home on the TV, like you might have a friend who's off in the bedroom or one that's in the toilet or whatever. All these fans are all watching the same thing going on. And I was in shock and awe that so many people can come together. And then by the time I realized the game was on TV too, and all the fans at home are watching it, and like hundreds of thousands of people all over the country are watching the same thing, and I loved it ever since. So, yeah.
Hooked.
Absolutely hooked, yeah.
I don't know what people do when they don't love sport, and like it sort of divides some of my friendship groups, but I don't know how you pass time. Maybe
that's you end up watching Farm Once a Wife or something like that.
Speaking of,
to be fair, that's on right now, and I've got it on in the background.
Speaking of dividing friendship groups, guys, this is the question. This question has divided my friendship groups for years. Now, we'll be taking a tally and a poll as this show goes on. Every guest that we interview gets asked the same question. Ness, I'll let you go first. Do you keep your tomato sauce in the cupboard or the fridge?
Oh, the reaction's not great because we've already had this discussion, and I actually want to play how you and Beau reacted when I said this the first time.
Where do you keep it, Ness? Where do you keep it?
You know what? I grew up with it in the fridge, and I don't know where it went wrong, but now lives in the cupboard.
Oh my God.
It's in the cupboard now. Yeah.
Improvise, adapt. Come on. I don't plan on getting arrested. I put my sauce in the fridge. Come on.
Exactly right. That's where it goes, in the fridge. Righto, 2-1. Sorry, Ness, you're out. Good luck next week.
Thanks for having you on the pod. You won't be back.
See ya. Right, as you can see, that sort of has already divided us, and hopefully our guest next week, Michael Roger, the Paralympian, has the same ideas. I've sent him the list. I've asked him to not give me the answers yet, but he is very fascinated by the things we're going to ask him next week. So it'd be very interesting to have him on the show. Him and I are obviously athletes. As you can see, I'm an athlete. We actually run around the same area out here. He is training for the Paralympics, which start in about 3 weeks' time. His race is the 15th of September in Tokyo. I've seen him running around out here a few times, and he leaves me for dead. So he knows who I am now, so I'll be after him next time I see him. So look, guys, thank you very much for being on the show. It was very easy to do the first one. I told you guys would be fine. You loved it. So
No,
very nice. Righto, guys, thanks for coming on. We'll see you next week. Hooroo.
bang, bang.
John,
Here's Aloisi for a place in the
you
World
read it
Cup.
for us.
He scored! Australia have done it! Come on! John!
For Shane Warne. He's done it.